Best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmet's casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted. It's coming around.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the final Geeks Vegas Lines betting preview show of the season. We are talking Super Bowl, LV, Super Bowl, Live, player props, prop games, big plays, contests for your Super Bowl party. And we have got the best bet master himself here, John Statsational Alessia from Sports Bet Army, to break it all down for us. What's up, John?
Not much, man. Just getting ready. This is it. NFL is almost over.
You're known as the master of games. This is your specialty. This is like the glory of John. Super Bowl, all kinds of little boxes. You've got angles for everything.
I try to. You get to that point where you actually start driving yourself mad because you don't want to play anything that doesn't give you an edge. I've cut down my Super Bowl boxes because I'm like, that's all luck. I don't even want to waste thousands of dollars on Super Bowl boxes like I used to.
Yeah, I remember even not long ago, you tell me, yeah, you're in $1,000 box. You were one of these guys who'd buy the $1,500 Super Bowl box, but no edge there. No edge. Is there no edge? If they let you choose the spot on the board, even if you can't see the numbers, no edge? No edge to be found?
No, I mean, unless you got to pick your numbers. I've seen pools. Actually haven't done it where you can. It's an interesting take on it where obviously there's 100 boxes and then you have like a draft. So if you get to pick first, you know what all the numbers are, and then you can actually pick your numbers, which I find interesting.
Oh yeah,
that's a good way to play it.
That really favors the early pickers too.
Well, listen, it's still all random, right? I'm going to get 2-2 if I pick randomly, or if I get the last draw, which is random as well. So I just think it's a fun wrinkle. There's fun ones. We do one where it's a score change, so you get paid. I've been doing. I started it in 1999, I think. You get paid a small percentage. So let's say it's $100 box, you might get $300 every time the score changes. And by score change, I mean a touchdown is 6-0, the first touchdown, then 7-0 for the extra point, so on and so forth. And whoever has the final score gets whatever's left in the pot. So that's an interesting one as well.
Yeah, that requires a whole lot of paying attention and for the commissioner to be writing shit down constantly.
Got to write every score change down. Yep.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal. Now, pretty weird year for Super Bowl contests. Now, it's pretty standard for us to get our friends together. Now, if we have friends, not me, but like normal people that get their friends together, have a little party, watch the game, get a bunch of contests going, make it fun, get some bets going amongst each other. But we got the Corona this year, and man, Super Bowl is just going to be really, really different. Not a lot of people are going to be having Super Bowl parties. Are you?
I'm actually going to be going to see some family who and a very small group, just my aunt, her husband, they're a little older. They've actually been they've got their vaccination. So it's just a small group, just maybe 4 of us. But that's it. Like, it's not I mean, the Super Bowl for me was always the championship games were always actually a big party. I would always host it when I was in Brooklyn. All the guys would come over. We called it Taco Fest. That's an all-day event. And then the Super Bowl, we would always go out to a bar or something. We'd rent out a room at a bar. That was where, because the wives and the girlfriends wanted to always be part of the Super Bowl.
Where in Brooklyn were you getting these tacos for Taco Fest?
Oh, we'd make them. Yeah. So I'd make
all right.
them.
Yeah.
Then I'd hire a couple of girls as like servers. And it was a good time. That was the best the best day of the year was always championship weekend. And like I said, the wives and girlfriends want to get involved in the Super Bowl, and we always would go out and rent a back room or something at a bar.
Can I assume that the girls who were the servers were also naked?
No, they were not naked. No.
Not as good of a party as I thought.
Not as good, but
it would have been a lot more fun. Yeah, if you had me feeding you ideas, I would help you take that party up a notch. Now,
I could. Yeah, we could. But I was. Listen. Before the Me Too movement, I was still the champion of women's rights. So
me too,
I was not going to do that.
All right. Me too. So one thing that I know about Brooklyn is, not a place for tacos. Every other cuisine, yes. But tacos, no. I find that odd. Now that I'm thinking, it's never come to me, but it's weird. No tacos in Brooklyn. No good ones. Watch, I'm going to get all these DMs from people about an actual good taco place. No. It doesn't exist, okay? I come from there. All right.
I work with a Mexican girl from San Antonio, and she used to just complain about the lack of great Mexican food in New York City.
Yeah, but especially tacos.
Yes.
Like, you leave New York, there's taquerias all over the place, and they're amazing. For some reason here, we don't have that. But we got hot dogs.
The street hot dogs are not what they used to be.
No, they're not. All right, let's get into some prop bets for the Super Bowl while everybody's here. So, again, we're on the Zoom meetings with our friends now. You can't really have the contest that you did in the past, but you definitely can bet the game and take up the excitement a notch. Obviously, yesterday, if you're watching this channel, I did the big showdown breakdown. So your DFS is covered. If you missed that, check out the YouTube channel for DFS Army. Look up the props, the showdown breakdown special. I had Bobby Wow and DFS Up North on with me. We broke down the whole thing. It's awesome. Biggest DFS slate of the season, in my opinion. By the way, the crown jewel, not it's the crown jewel showdown of the season. John, I'm assuming you're attacking that bad boy.
Oh yeah, of course. That's there's big prizes on the line. So came close a couple of what was it, the Rams Super Bowl? That was 2 years ago. So
it's also bragging rights. You got Super Bowl showdown is the crown jewel. If you win nothing else, that's the one. So, but what we want to talk about today, we want to talk about some best bets, some props, some things we could bet for the Super Bowl. You've written an article about this already over at sportsbetarmy.com, but I wanted to sort of throw up the DraftKings Sportsbook on screen here and go through some of these crazy bets. There are novelty bets. There's props for everything. You could bet so much on this game. It's nuts. So let's start with the first one. Like, one of the first categories I see here are novelty props, basically silly things like the national anthem and the coin toss. So let me throw this at you. Is there any possible angle that we can exploit in any of these novelty props to make them worth betting at all?
Well, I'll tell you, with the national anthem, I haven't looked into it too deeply. I know people do research that. I will say they're giving you good odds on the coin toss relative to what you normally get. I mean, minus 103 is, it's better than it's better than picking the game almost. But yeah, of course you have no edge there, so they're taking that spread. You always want to look at the spread. So that minus 103, it's a 6 cent spread, which is extremely tight. Which, hey, they're being very generous on giving you 3 cents on a 50-50 proposition, but that's better than a lot of sports books will do. I will say this on the coin, not necessarily the coin flip, but which team gets the ball first could be determined here. Most teams here in the NFL now defer the kick, as you know, I'm sure.
Yes.
The Bucs in the last 2 times that they won the coin toss actually took the ball. That was during the regular season. They won the coin toss and took the ball. The Kansas City has not taken the ball all season. So there's a slight edge possibly on Tampa. If you figure if Kansas City wins the coin flip, we're almost guaranteed they're going to defer, kick the ball to Tampa. But there is a chance here that in the last 2 games, like I said, that they won the coin flip, Tampa actually took the ball and scored on both of those possessions. So there's a possibility that they might look to do that again if they win the coin toss. So if that's the case, Tampa getting the ball first might be a good bet. Also, Tampa to score first, if you're looking at that. as a possibility of a good bet. I put that in the article as well. So it's kind of tough. There's so many of these props to sort through, and you could really literally spend days, depending on how much time you have to go through all of them and try to make some good judgments. But yeah, so that I would look at that as Tampa getting the ball first, as a good possibility. And if you're in one of those pools where you're not necessarily paying juice and you just have to pick, hey, who's going to get the ball first? Go with Tampa.
I'm looking for, man, there are so many props. It's unbelievable. I'm looking for a, first team to get the ball kind of prop.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that here specifically on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Could be missing it. They have to win the coin toss, but they don't have a who gets the ball first prop, unfortunately, because that'd be really good. I think you corner the market if Arians has. It makes sense that they'll get the ball first. You don't want to be giving Pat Mahomes.
I would almost. Yeah, I mean, certainly the Chiefs are going to defer. Well, see, the Chiefs are going to defer because a lot of teams want that ball in the second half.
Yeah,
because they feel like if they can get that late score in the first half, and then they get the ball back in the second half, you get the 2 straight possessions. For whatever the logic was, Arians took the ball a couple of times, and like I said, they scored. So he might continue that trend. I like the fact that it was the last 2 times that they did win the coin toss. There probably is, if you search, and like I said, there's so many of these, I'm sure I'd be 99.9% positive DraftKings would have a team to score first. And then that would be under, if you scroll through, it wouldn't be under players. I mean, although they're going to have player to score first, but if you scroll through, there's probably game props. And then you can find
there's plenty of first person to score. There's everything like
that. Well, you get first team to score. So if we believe Tampa's going to get the ball first, there's an advantage to Tampa actually scoring first as well. So if you can't find that Tampa to get the ball first bet, look for that Tampa to score first as a possibility.
There we go. Now let's go to the most basic of all, the actual game lines. So currently, the Chiefs are sitting as 3-point favorites in this one, with an over-under of 56 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. So my question is, is there any edge to betting this at all? It looks like a little bit more money's coming in on the Chiefs at -3, just a smidge more. Might go to -3.5 on some books. It looks like based on the -113 versus -108 for the +3. Any juice in this line here? I mean, normally you'd think the Chiefs would smoke the Bucs, but then it's, Tom Brady, and he's just got so much magic and a little bit of narrative behind him right now, in terms of A, having beaten the Chiefs before in the playoffs, and B, just being Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, I would go look. I did a Super Bowl article as well, of course, just on the point spread. So I would advise everyone to just go take a look over that at the Sports Bet Army. But is there a huge edge in this game? No, not really. But it's the Super Bowl. We want to have a pick. I mean, everyone wants to bet this game. So even for a minimal amount, just to have a little bit more fun on it. I like the Bucs. I took the Bucs when it was at 3.5. Was laying a little bit more juice here than it is now, or that you're seeing here. But I think this game is extremely tight, and I would actually say, the Bucs have been, I believe, since it was the game against the Chiefs, actually, that game that they played against the Chiefs. Tony Romo in that game had said something about how he felt he saw something that he said it that day when the game was over. They lost the game, but he said that was the game that he thought they really found something on offense. And if you recall, if you go back early in the season, there was a lot of that. Brady, new team. There was a lot of disconnect between Arians and himself. This is not a Tom Brady type of offense, right? So they run a much different type of offense than he was running with New England. So it took time. It took a bunch of weeks. Since that game, though, they've been really maybe the best team in football. They've had the widest scoring margin of any team. And you say, well, does that really matter? It actually does. The teams with the biggest scoring margin do tend to win more often. The Chiefs have not, the Chiefs have, in my opinion, are they the best team? Probably. but they have not been nearly as dominant a team as they were a year ago. We've seen them lose some games that they shouldn't lose. They've been in tight games that they should not have been in. The Bucks,
a lot of tight games. Remember, they almost lost to the Browns, and that was even before Mahomes comes out. They weren't like ahead big.
You've got that fumble on the goal line, which is a bit of a fluky play. Plus, I mean, technically, it was a penalty for spearing with his head. So that changes the game. That a matter of inches. If he scores as opposed to fumbling the ball out of the back of the end zone, the Browns might win that game.
The Browns. I mean, it took a miracle from Henny, but again, that's the Henny version. And the other thing I would say about the Chiefs, about the Bucks, is their defense has stepped up and appears to be getting better throughout the playoffs. What they did to Aaron Rodgers, 5 sacks. Rodgers hadn't been sacked at all. I get they were down a couple offensive linemen, but I mean, Rodgers hadn't been sacked at all this year, and for them to hit him 5 times, for them to do that, they already have the high chief Jamel Dean in the secondary. Now their front 7 is getting to the quarterback. So this Bucs team is very complete, and I think they'll probably get Antonio Brown back for this one as well.
Yeah, Brown's going to play. I'm pretty confident about that. Well, think about I broke it down by position in the art. Name the position outside of Mahomes that you like, that you want to give the advantage to the Chiefs in this game. One, maybe the one more. Yeah, the tight end for sure. The quarterback. I'm not giving the wide receivers as a group. I'm not giving them the advantage over as a group. Tampa's got some of the best wide receiving.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a better group. Now, Tyreek Hill's a special talent. I think the other wide receivers on Kansas City are just average.
I mean, I have to look at it as, because if you treat Kelsey as a wide receiver, then I will give that advantage to the Chiefs. So to me, Kelsey is a wide receiver. If you combine him with Tyreek Hill, I'll take that over Godwin and Evans.
And Brown. See, I look the Bucs side of that, but it's close. I think it's close.
Yeah, Brown,
I can understand your argument.
And then I'll give you that. Brown is the wild card. Especially if you get like a real vintage version of Antonio Brown, yeah, you give it to that group, I think.
Now, running the ball, neither team I would consider great running teams, but I think the edge here has to go to Tampa, considering the fact that Tampa is not going to allow them to run the ball anyway, and Kansas City doesn't really care to run the ball these days much. So the edge goes there. If you look at, like I just said, the defensive line, I think the edge goes to Tampa. Pass rush, I believe the edge goes. I think cornerback play, the edge is on Tampa. I think they've got the better cornerback play. So pass defense. I think none of these edges are huge, by the way. I don't think outside of their ability to stop the run, Tampa's got that's probably the biggest advantage in the entire game. And maybe Mahomes over Brady, although, he's still Tom Brady. But yeah, I don't think there's, so I don't mind taking the points here. I think that was my logic on taking the points.
No, it makes sense. I think a lot of people are going to take the points, and I'm curious as to where the public is. Yeah,
from what I understand, there's actually more money coming in on Tampa, which I didn't expect. And that happens a lot right after the championship games. A lot of people, that's it. They see the championship game, and the first reaction was Mahomes is going to win the next 10 Super Bowls. I mean, that's what I was getting. I'm getting a million text messages like the league's not fair. The AFC's not fair. Like, there's one guy's going to win. I said, well, not for nothing, but the AFC hasn't been fair for the last 20 years because one guy's been winning every championship game with a few other guys sneaking in there. So, I mean, we may very well possibly the next 10 years could be dominated here by Mahomes. I wouldn't doubt that, but that's what we've seen now for a while in the AFC.
It's so special about this game. I love that it's old school, new school, the old dynasty getting its last run, the new dynasty in there. Which one is going to take over? I really feel like if Mahomes wins this, the dynasty is. I already feel like the Chiefs dynasty has begun, but really the torch has been passed. Or will the sort of old hat kind of keep it going? And it's just so many great fantasy. I love this game, by the way. I just want to say, I'm so excited for this specific game because a lot of times you get these Super Bowls and they're just, one team's a great defense and one's a good offense. You don't get this amazing offensive output. You've got two teams here that only want to throw the football. they're both passing at a ridiculously high rate. And you're right. The Tampa defense ensures that you're really not going to run it at all. So you can kind of ignore the running backs from Kansas City for the most part in this one and understand they're moving the football through the air. And Tampa kind of wants to do the same thing, although I think Tampa will certainly run the football better and more. And if there's a prop like that, that's something I'd want to be on. But overall, lots of passing to look forward to in this one. Now, before we get into some other props from this game to target, and John has a great article over at sportsbetarmy.com where you could check that out. I want to let you know that in the description here on this video, there's a link to the free version of the Sportsbet Army Discord group. So you can get in there and be in the general channels. Everybody's talking bets in there. You don't get the picks as part of the free Discord, but you get a little the community in there, and they're running a contest which you can check out. It's a really awesome contest for new subscribers. Anybody who's in there, let me get the details here. John was very, very important that I get these details for you. So Sportsbet Army subscribers get all of John's bets. How 6, 7, 8 a day, constant bets, every sport, all from the GOAT himself, John Statsational Alessia. You want to get in there and you want these bets. So the deal here is, let me just go over some of these contests. Where is it? Okay, they've got a progressive pot where 25 people who sign up for MyBookie via the Discord will get a chance at $250 cash for each person who signs up. There's another $10 added to the pot. During our Thanksgiving promotion, Any Pats and the Dude each won $1,000 in a contest like this. They're also doing, there's a couple other contests going on. Predict the score contest with $250 to first, $150 to second, $100 to third. All kinds of great contests going on in the Sportsbet Army Discord. The link is in the description of this video, so go check that out. It's free to get in the Discord. If you, of course, you want to become a subscriber to Sportsbet Army, you can use promo code Statsational. It gets you 10% off, and you get all of John Statsational Alessia's bets, picks for this game, for every game, constantly, all month long. Also Anthony, also Kegs props.
Yeah, just to tell you, I mean, you know, a lot of people, they focus on the NFL betting, and here we are, we're winding down. But the NBA is getting, you know, the NBA is in full swing right now. Anthony is absolutely killing the NBA. I mean, he was on, I don't know where exactly he is, but a week ago he was at a 70% clip in the NBA, which is unheard of. Tennis is now just picking up again. We're betting tennis over in Melbourne right now, because then the Australian Open, which got pushed back, is coming up soon. Hopefully, if they don't have any Corona issues. So we've got that going on, and tennis has been really profitable for me. I do the tennis. We've got golf every week. And of course, the NCAA tournament is coming up, which is, you know, after the NFL and the Super Bowl, that is the most bet sport and sporting event, certainly, of the year. So there's a lot of really good stuff to get in just because the NFL is ending. We've got a ton of stuff, and we're pretty active in there.
Yeah, the Sportsbet Army team, Anthony, John, Ryan, Keg, been killing it. And again, yeah, you say it better than I do. Anthony hitting 70% right now for NBA games. And I have to tease that I've got a max bet, 2 max bets in a row coming up on the next 2 UFC slates, only for sportsbetarmy.com subscribers. So go check it out, or join the free Discord and try to steal the information by weaseling it out of other free Discord people. You might be able to weasel your way into some of these bets. I'm sure you're thinking it. Now they want to do it. All right, give it a try. Get in the Discord and get it rolling. But I digress, and we move on. So let's talk about some other novelty props, and tell me if there are any sort of edges we can glean from some of these novelties. So, you know, the coin toss, it's a pure bet. Twin coin toss in the Gatorade color. Is there any edge here? Do people know something? It's like
no,
25 because they know something.
Yeah, what they know is the most common color is orange. So they're just going by historical information. Those are fun. I mean, I would say this. when you're playing these props, especially the novelty props, if you're going to play them, play it for a fun amount. If your normal bet size is $50, don't bet $50 on these novelty props. Even on some of the regular props, the spreads get so wide, and you want to. And if you're playing a lot of them, you don't want to put too much of your bankroll at risk here. Let's have some fun, but let's not go crazy with some of these. So fractions of your bankroll, of your typical unit size, I would say you'll want to put on these.
Couple bucks here, couple bucks there. I mean, Gator, unless you have inside info, I don't bet this kind of thing. I need an edge. First offensive play from scrimmage, really interesting pass or run. We know that both of these teams are super, super pass heavy, but if we believe that no matter who wins the coin flip, the Bucs will get the football first. This is one of those spots where the Bucs are. I don't like the spread, but the Bucs are a little more likely to run it on the first play than the Chiefs probably are. So maybe there's a little bit of an edge there on that, but I don't know. Seems pretty thin. This is an interesting prop here that I noticed before. Any scoring drive to take less time than the singing of the national anthem.
That's that's the yes is obviously heavily juiced here, and you'd have to, without the juice, you'd have to like yes. You figure the national anthem is going to be over 2 minutes, so you would expect that. Just to give you a little more of, like I was saying before, where you want to come up with a game script in your head, just like we do with the showdowns. I think in this game, I think what we'll see is, I know we talked about the running game not being prevalent for really either team, but I think Tampa will try to run the ball a bit, because the big plays are going to be key in this game. I think both Tampa and Kansas City are really good at plays over 20, 25 yards. They're up near the top of the league. Both of them, I think, I'm forgetting now. It's in my article. I'm forgetting if Tampa was number one. They might have been in pass plays over 25 yards, but Kansas City in giving up explosive passing plays, 23rd in the league. So I think that's what you're going to see. This is what the Arians offense does, is they look for big plays down the field, and they're going to set those big plays up with the running game. So they're going to have to try to establish the run. So do they come out on the first play and run the ball? I don't know. You'd have to go back and look at some tendencies. But I think that's what you're going to see, is Brady taking shots deep down the field. So I do think in this situation, when you talk about quick scoring drives, I think you'll see some quick scoring drives in this game for that reason. I think Tampa is going to be less methodical. And I think Kansas City, as we know, can score really quickly. So I think that's why the total also is where it is. I think we're going to see a lot of shots taken down the field, especially by Tampa.
I like it. Now, on that note, Tar Heels in the chat brought up an interesting point that I actually want to ask you about. It's more of an NFL process point than anything else. It's certainly not a prop, but it's an interesting point here. So the first time these two teams met, Tyreek Hill destroyed the Tampa secondary and had his biggest game of the season. Travis Kelce had a mediocre game. It's just fine. But the reality has been that Tampa is worse versus tight ends generally than they are against wide receivers. And so my question is, having experience getting torched by Tyreek Hill, is it possible, as the Bucs are watching that game tape, that they say, you know what, we need to do everything we can to stop this guy, and game flow shift a little bit more towards where Kelce is left a little bit less covered, because they're putting all their effort into blanketing Tyreek Hill. And so in that scenario, again, it's more psychological, where the coaches are watching the tape from the first game going, oh my God, this guy is ruining us. We've got to stop this. That they actually overreact to that in a sense and take Tyreek Hill out more so, and then shift, which opens up Travis Kelce for a little bit more offensive action, and therefore in the prop betting side maybe becomes the more interesting scores of first touchdown candidate, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, and I spoke about that in the article as well. I believe Hill had 269 in that game. If I'm not mistaken, he had 200 yards in like the first quarter or something insane. So they did at some point in that game change their focus and focused a lot more on Hill in that game. Kelsey had 8 targets and caught all 8 of them. So I do think you're going to see, I know on my bookie, and again, the props vary depending on the book that you're at. On my bookie, they had the over-under on receiving yardage was slightly higher on Kelsey than it was on Hill. So that was I found that interesting. And I actually like the over on the Kelsey yardage, and I like the under on the Hill yardage for exactly the reason Tar Heels is talking about. And, I agree with them. So I think they will focus on Hill, which is also why I think the game script of, I think more big plays will happen on the Tampa side of the field than will happen on the Kansas City. I think Kansas City is going to be as methodical as Kansas City can possibly be. I mean, they might be ripping off 10-yard chunks at a time with Kelsey, as opposed to the 30 and 40-yard plays that I'm expecting to see out of Tampa. So, yeah, I do like that analysis, and I think that I think we could see that. So I think we'll see. I'm going to say Kelsey gets more receptions here than Hill does, and more yardage in this game than Hill.
I like it. And I think that most of the field for DFS purposes will actually think Hill is going to repeat what he did and expect that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out from a DFS angle as well. Now, I've got some player props up here, and I want to go through some of this because I really like some of these props as well, and I think they're actually quite bettable. One of the ones that stands out to me, I don't know if you could see this on screen or not, but I've got rushing yards open per player. And one of the things I like, and I want to mention this for just a general prop betting thing, guys, and this is a little bit of general knowledge, okay? John is the expert, but I'm the everyman who wants to let you know what you might not have. John thinks you know this stuff, so he doesn't always remember to tell you. But I notice things also. You want props that give you over and under. You always want to, I like to focus on a prop where betting is happening on both sides of it, because just before you see some of these novelty props and you can only bet one side of it, and you get really, really skewed lines with a lot of vig built in, and you can't even really see the rake in those numbers. And I've noticed them because when you look at certain player props, like they're incredibly different across different sites, but you can't arbitrage them because they might only give you one side of the prop. It's not the over and the under, it's just the over. So in the case of these props right here, you've got over under. So you've got essentially what are fair bets. Now, one interesting one, right, Tom Brady over 0.5 rushing yards. Now, Tom Brady is known to go for a sneak on 4th down on occasion. This, I mean, minus 177. I don't know. I think it's a fair line, but at first glance, you're like, Tom Brady doesn't run for football. Where does he get the 1 yard? He gets it on a QB sneak. And he almost always does a QB sneak. So minus 177 over 0.4. What do you think of that prop? Is it bettable?
Yeah, if I'm taking any side, I'm taking the over a half. Just for, one of the reasons you said, obviously he's good for a 4th down, kind of rush to the line, sneak, and he'll get, maybe get a couple of yards there. And I think there's the possibility where if they are going deep, if the linebackers are going to be dropping back on certain plays, there is a chance that, a play breaks down and he runs for 1 or 2 yards. We know, he's not going to have a 15-yard run in this game.
No.
So if this game, if it goes over, it's going to be, he'll have 2 or 3 yards. But I'll take the plus money on getting to 1 yard if I had to make money. That bet. No. The over.
Yeah, the over is minus 177.
No, the under is minus 177.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
I'm ready. I read it wrong. Yeah. Oh, I love the plus money then. Okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah, that. Oh, I was reading it wrong. Yeah, I love the plus money on that one. I'll take that all day. Now, another one here that stands out is the fact that both Darrell Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire are showing an over-under of 30.5 yards. So this is really interesting because I do not think that both of them are getting there. And yet here we are. We've got both of these guys projecting for an over-under of 30.5 yards. This is the Bucs. Really good defense against the run. If you're moving the football against them, it's probably more through the air to the running back. What about the unders for both of these?
Yeah, I think I think one of them is going to go over, one will go under. Now the question is which way does it go? So I don't know if I would take the under on both.
The field slightly favors Hilaire to get the 30.5. Slightly. There, it's minus 112 for that one versus plus 110 for the over on Darrell.
Right. And I would actually, if I was going to take, if I had to pick one of them to go over, I would take Williams. I could see Williams coming in situations that aren't necessarily that they're looking to run, and sometimes you get those situations where it's third and long, they give them a draw, it winds up being a 10-yard play, and then it kind of messes up everyone's totals on the over. So if I was going to pick and choose, I would say under on Hilaire and then over on Williams if I had to take it. But yeah, I'm not expecting much on the ground from any of the Kansas City running backs.
I'm going to go over. I really, there's so many to go over here. I don't even know where to go. Actually, let's take a look at rushing. I know you've got an article with a lot of these different props picked out over at sportsbetarmy.com. So go check it out. A lot of those props are extremely, they're hard to find.
Yeah, well, it was specific to MyBookie just because a lot of people, like I said, we're running the contest over at MyBookie. So I wanted to give everyone, if you join that contest, those will give you some good props to play over there.
So check it out. So let's talk about that for a second. So what John's saying here is, again, go to the Sports Bet Army Discord. The link is in the Slack, or just go to sportsbetarmy.com and get signed up as VIP. He's got a full article out. We're doing all kinds of contests for new MyBookie signups via our DFS Army promo code. So you have to check that stuff out. You can get a couple free months of Sports Bet Army VIP. You get all John's picks, and he's got a whole bunch of props for specific to MyBookie picked out in an article. A lot of stuff like this. Tampa Bay first touchdown score. Actually, that goes across both. I see that here. You got Mike Evans and Godwin as possibilities of plus 400, plus 600. Essentially saying might as well take both. One of those guys. I like Evans there. But let's take a look at some of these. So make sure to do that. Go check out sportsbetarmy.com.
One other thing in that article, I linked to a bankroll management and how to figure out your unit sizes and how to play these. You don't want to be, if you're playing some of these big long shots, or even a big favorite for that matter, you have to change your bet sizing, right? So if I'm playing something that's, like you said, maybe Evans at 400 to 1 to score the first touchdown. If I'm playing that, I can't play that for the same amount that I play the game at -3 or +3. So if I'm a $50 player, I'm not going to play that for $50. All of a sudden, all of my entire day is riding on this big long shot, winning or losing. And the probability obviously is that that's not going to happen. You got a 4-to-1 shot that happens. Check it out. I've got a video and an article in there that you can look at to understand how to bet these.
I love that. So it's not as simple as to win one.
Yeah. Well, you're looking at a to win amount. What most people wind up doing is they play, like I said, you're a $50 or $100 player, and then they risk the same amount no matter what the bet is. So you have a -200 bet, which is obviously a higher likelihood of happening than a +200 bet, and they'll play them both for the same exact amount. Doesn't make any sense. So you're going to win that -200 bet, and only on a $50 bet, and you're going to win $25. Meanwhile, you have another +200 bet, and you're risking $50 on it. And the odds are you're going to lose that bet. You win one, you lose one, and now you're down $25 for no reason. So just understand that, and go in there. There's a real quick video that I linked to in that article that I did on this.
Awesome. So go check that out at sportsbetarmy.com as well. If you click on football, you can get all the football articles, and you will find John's videos and breakdowns over there. Now, all right, let's take a look at some rushing yard props here, or receiving yard props here. Sorry. For some of these players in this game, I like receiving yards. Here's one that I like the under on. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 15.5. They don't throw to Clyde Edwards-Helaire very much at all. I think 15.5 receiving yards. I'm pretty comfortable taking the under on that one. I don't really see. I see it Darrell Williams being the pass catcher. They just have not thrown to Helaire. What do you think of that bet right there? 15.5. I think it's worth a stab on the under.
Yeah, I like the under on that one as well. You're getting it's flat, no juice, even money. I think that's a fairly good one to take. I agree with you. I don't see the running backs being even in the passing game. I don't think they're going to be highly used here by Kansas City.
Yeah, it's just not super likely. Although I'll say on the flip side, over 12.5 for Darrell Williams doesn't look too bad either. And the receiving, I mean, if they throw him a couple times, there he is. And Darrell Williams does come in. He tends to come in on the passing downs, or unless there's some shift in usage that certainly could happen. Maybe Allaire is healthier now. Maybe the ankle is more healed up, and maybe they go to him more. But I don't see why they would. Darrell Williams has been playing really well in the playoffs, and I don't see any reason why they would shift the roles where Hilaire seems to be the sort of short yardage and touchdowns guy right now, with Darrell Williams coming in on passing downs.
Again, I'm going to agree with you on that as well.
Yes.
So I like the 12. I like over 12.5. You are paying a little bit more juice on this one, minus 124, but I agree. So I think if they do get themselves in some third and long situations, just like we might get that situation, that was the logic behind the running yardage, because I think he's going to come in and he's going to run the ball when the defense is playing a little softer. Same logic here. I think he's going to come in some soft situations, and he really needs maybe 2 catches to get himself over 12.5 yards. The way that they're throwing to him, so I think there's a chance that happens.
Here's an interesting sort of parlay possibility. If I believe that the Bucs are playing from ahead in this game, does that increase the likelihood that someone like Darrell Williams will get 12.5 yards because he's in there? The Chiefs are throwing to catch up late, and therefore, does it make sense to parlay something like Bucs +3 and Darrell Williams over 12.5 to sort of get that little bit of, or not even that, maybe even a Bucs money line plus Darrell Williams, something like that, to sort of play on potential game flows? And is that an approach that you like to take with these props, where you kind of parlay up some different props based around some game flow possibilities?
It's not something I typically do. The correlations, it becomes really difficult because to figure out just how highly correlated. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think it's a lot. There's a lot of work involved. So to figure it all out, right. A lot has to go right. For those things to happen. Again, I don't think it's a terrible idea, and I like the fact that I like when you have a game plan. I don't like when people just kind of, you look at these and you go, oh, I like that over. I like it. Just give me a reason for it. Give me some logic behind it. Even if you're not using, for me, I'm busting out spreadsheets and I'm looking at historical data and all that. I'm trying to compile it that way. And I'm trying to put, what would the number be? What would the juice? A lot of people don't, they just disregard the juice number, that's how the house is making their money. And this is what we talked about. When you get looking at the spread on these, that they get wide, that's how they're making they're making money on these. So people oftentimes, they just look at the actual bet. They're looking at over 15.5, under 15.5, and don't pay enough attention to the juice. On these, I'll just err on the side of getting juice more often than not, just because I think these are so tough sometimes to predict. And that's why the sportsbook widens it as well, because it's hard for them even to put a good line on that number, to put a good number on it. So the wider it is, of course, they're going to encapsulate, they'll get both sides of action, and then they have a better shot at making money. If they make the spread tight, they could get hammered. But anyway, yes, I like your logic there. I just have not done it myself.
A couple other things on this screen right here. So I like the under on Gronk, 29.5 as well. He's been pretty dead-legged, and could he get there? Sure, but I mean, I don't think it's 50-50 for Gronk to get 30 receiving yards. He just hasn't been doing that at all. So to me, that's really asking a little bit much. I think the over should actually be significant plus money, and the fact that it's not, going back to your juiced bets point, essentially, if you go back and look at Gronk, he hasn't been hitting 30 yards most weeks. So he's less than 50% to get there. And yet here, they're giving you minus 118 on the over. So they're saying he's more likely than not to go over 30 yards. I don't agree with that.
I would take Brait at the over 29.5, minus 112 before I would take Gronk at the over 29.5.
So think about how comfortable you are with that. I think this is a name brand thing where it's Gronk, and the public loves Gronk, so they're going to bet him. Most of the public doesn't play DFS, so they haven't been paying attention to the fact that he hasn't been getting there. It's not to say he can't get there, by the way. anything can happen, but I think it should be plus money on the over. So I would be on the underside of that bet. Now, one thing I was just thinking about, and I want to ask you if this is a reality with the legalization of sports betting across so many states now, and of course the availability. It's essentially sports betting is now legal in the United States. Your state may or may not allow it. You might be in a state that doesn't allow it within the state. That doesn't mean it's illegal to bet on sports. It just means your state doesn't allow it. And again, there are sports books that aren't in your state that allow you to play, and you're perfectly allowed to do that. There's no law against what you do on the internet. That's a misperception. People think it's illegal to bet online if you're not on, some local sports book. That is not the case. Your state might not allow it within the state. Okay. So you find a sports book that's not in your state. That's the beauty of the internet. But with all of that being said, these props are very different. You mentioned it before, how different books have a hard time pricing these props. They don't really know. They're not that great at it. The idea of player props is newer for sports betting than things like, over-unders and lines and things like that. And I know all of these books kind of struggle to get player props going and to get them right, which is why they probably limit most bettors in terms of how much money you can bet on these things. Does it make sense to try to run to different sports books and arbitrage some of these? Because I have a feeling that some of these numbers are going to be wildly different. If we jump to the FanDuel Sportsbook, if we jumped over to MGM or William Hill or even MyBookie or BetOnline, some of these numbers are going to be really different. Is there arbitrage opportunities where I can basically print free cash or create a wide window of free money enough to where it's worth doing?
100%. You could use the prop. We've got that prop tool, which might be able to just find some.
I'm not 100% sure how many of these props that prop tool is going to put up.
Okay, yeah, but that would be a good resource. If you have, there's never a disadvantage to having multiple books. So that's always the case. So have multiple books. It gives you the ability, obviously, to shop lines around when you're just playing the regular old Sunday NFL spread lines. Having multiple books, you'll notice that you could get +7 or +7.5 with two different books. Why not take the +7.5? Things like that. But you're going to see, you'll see some opportunities here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at Gronk himself. So, this is an example of this. I don't know that we found an arbitrage. There is a bit of an arbitrage. So teach me how to do an arbitrage. I like to learn. So the spread here is William Hill has the Gronk receiving yards prop at 28.5. PointsBet has it at 31.5 with DraftKings, FanDuel, and MGM all in the Caesars. MGM. Yeah. That's Caesars right there?
Is that Caesar MGM? What are we in, New Jersey?
Yeah, this is Jersey.
I think it's MGM. It'll tell you on the bottom there when you.
I don't always know the symbols for all of them, but so I can get -110 for the under, and I can get, I'd want the over here. So I'd want -120 over 28.5. Then I could do under 31.5 -115. Is this even? I don't know that this is worth doing.
It's probably not. It's probably not worth it here. But I mean, you have to do some investigating and go through all of these if you really want to find some decent ones. And what you're betting on there, obviously, is that you could catch something in the middle, and then not play. So what your risk is going to be the juice on one side or the other. If you bet $100, you're going to be risking either $15 or $20, depending on which way this goes. That and in order to win $200. Right. So you're going to, let's say you're risking about $17.50 to win $200 that this game lands on 29 or 30 or 31.
That's a slim window. That's
slim window. But, you might find even better ones. But go ahead and do that. If you've got the time to do that kind of work, you can do it and you've got the ability. And trust me, there are a lot of pro bettors that's what they do. There's a big misconception, too, with a lot of these, professional sports bettors. What a lot of professional sports bettors are doing, they're arbing all day long. Like that's what they're doing. They're not predicting anything. They're not giving you bets. And I know some of these, I'm not going to give anyone's name away. Some of the guys in the DFS world that are very popular and their names. I've met these guys and we've talked in person and they're like, and that's what they do on a daily basis. They've got multiple screens up. It's like trading stocks or and whatnot, and that's all they're doing. I had a guy, a business partner of mine, who was still a partner of mine in a lot of the sports betting endeavors. He was living in Vegas, and his job for me was to just run to different sports books and place the bets live in person, and either arb or just on the best possible lines.
This
it's
is
part of the game.
This is what a lot of people don't know, and I love that you're describing it. It's the inner world here. They don't know that a lot of the really successful sports bettors, they don't even watch. They don't care about the games. They don't care about. They're just looking for arbitrage opportunities. And one of the beautiful things, number one, with this tool we have over at Sportsbet Army, but also in general with the availability of all of the online sports books in every state, multiple competing books, is you can compare odds across these books and find discrepancies. Here's a bigger, and I just typed in a name, guys. I haven't pre-researched this. I just typed in a name in the Sportsbet Army props betting tool, which you could find here under odds. There's the prop finder tool. This is a free tool. Anybody can access this. So if you're a sports bettor, you should this is where I go to all the time. And the first thing I do is, all right, Darrell Williams, we talked about, the rushing yards prop. Well, if I want to bet this, I can wind up on William Hill, and I can bet the over 26.5, or I can wind up on DraftKings, and I'm stuck with 30.5. So there's there's just a big discrepancy there. Now, there's a little juice difference between the 30.5 and the 26, but there's not much of a juice difference here between some of these other ones. And here's an over 28. So if I want to do an over 28.5, I can get that juiced at plus 115, which is better than the DraftKings number plus 30.5. So I'm stealing. Now, let me ask you this, John. As a sports bettor, if I snipe an extra 2 points off of this prop, and I do that consistently, am I going to be a profitable sports bettor? Is that enough? That one move?
Yeah, on the props, it's tough to say. I don't have all the data on that. Certainly on the games, and depending on the numbers that you've got a shot to, when you're on key numbers, if you have a chance to arb around the key numbers, it can be profitable. On these, you have to figure a lot of these are going to be close as well. Especially the lower the total, right? Just kind of the way it works. So the rushing, so this is a fairly low number. We're talking 26 to 30 yards in that range. The likelihood of this line being close to, or this actually happening, the actual rushing yards of Williams being close to what these numbers are, is greater than, let's say, the Mahomes passing yardage numbers, right? There's a wider range of where Mahomes can throw, as opposed, like Williams is not going to run for, it's possible, of course, he's not going to run for 150 yards more than likely. So, there's a range there where he's very likely to probably be in the 20 to 40. So you've got a lot of good numbers there, is what I'm trying to say, that are highly likely to happen.
I mentioned I'm strongly of the mind that essentially beating closing lines or shopping your props is possibly the most important component to being a profitable sports bettor. If you can just always do it, if it's 28.5 or 30.5, each plus 110, 115, and you're not doing this bet over time, this is going to cost you. If you go to PointsBet right now and you take minus 105 over 28.5, instead of getting plus 115 on the exact same line, you are losing money in the long term, or you are leaving money on the table in the long term. It's that simple. You will become a more profitable sports bettor just by shopping these lines using this tool. I'm of that mind that is a lock for me. You're right. If I'm going over, the guy could run for 60 yards. It doesn't matter. But I think just over the long haul, squeaking and scraping out those changing plus 115 to minus 105 to plus 115, that is gold. Now, Dr. Doom asked a question here. I don't have this answer, man. I don't know anything about this promo. Can you double the max wager on DK, running some sort of a double money promo? Is that a thing, John? Do you know anything about that?
I'm unsure. I'm unsure exactly the question and the promos. The promos, I don't get too involved in a lot of those boosts. I will say, I get a lot of questions on these boosts that you'll see. Some of them are worthwhile, some of them aren't. Oftentimes, what they tell you they're boosting from is whatever. I was getting some golf questions on this. They boost from 550 to plus 550 to plus 600. I'm like, okay, they're not giving you all that much. It might seem like a lot. But that would help you too with the prop tool and also the live odds, depending on what the boost is. Go look, and it's like, DraftKings is going to boost this prop to this. Meanwhile, FanDuel's got it at that price already without a boost. So, they're not exactly giving you, they're not giving the world, but so don't get sucked in sometimes on a boost because it looks good. Meanwhile, you can get it at another book at the same price. So just be careful on those.
Sage advice. Be careful of boosts. Promotional bets, another story a lot of the time, but boosts, sometimes they're boosting something. If you weren't going to bet it before, you might not want to, I need a really big boost. I've seen a lot of that in MMA where it'll go from a plus 250 to a plus 300 on somebody as a special boost. And, if I wasn't betting that guy anyway, that amount of juice isn't enough to say, all right, well, I want to bet this, decision fighter by KO boost because it's a little bit juiced up. I don't do it either. Promotional though. So taking a quick look on the DraftKings Sports, again, it's what I have open. Of course, if you want to sign up here, you can use promo code DFS Army. Not going to get mad if you don't have one, but this is just for what's open on screen. We're not sponsored by these guys or anything, but we were talking about this bet to score a touchdown. So either team to score a touchdown at plus 10,000 odds. Now, if I want to bet this and make $100, I have to bet $10,000. Wait a minute here.
Yep.
Why is it saying total? Oh, yeah. 10,000.
Yeah.
So I put in 10,000. I get out 10,100. Now, it's a lock. John says don't bet this.
No,
now,
do not bet these because the risk is just far too high. I didn't run the numbers on this particular one, but I'll guarantee you the probability is not nearly as good. And what you bet, I've seen these things happen. I've seen Buster Douglas knock out Mike Tyson at 40 whatever to 1. Like I've seen the unbelievable happen before, and you are not going to you're not going to change your life when you win that $100, but when you have to start scraping together and going through the seat cushions looking for 10,000, it's not fun. It's just not a bet I would make. So I'd much rather be on the other side and say, hey, you know what? I'm taking a lottery ticket here for $100 to win 10,000. That lightning hits the stadium, and or there's a tsunami, and they can't score touchdowns. Is it going to happen? No, of course not. There's going to be multiple times. I'm expecting at least 6, 7, 8 touchdowns in this game, but I'm just not going to lay $10,000 to prove them right.
I love this point. This is like from the mind of a long-term bettor. You've seen Marina Agripova get knocked the fuck out by Shayna Dobson. Why do I have to always have obscure MMA references? Don't ask. That's what I do. Minus 1,300 odds. So anything can happen. Minus 10,000 is like a 98%, 99% probability. So what if it's only field goals? Then you're fucked. Here's another one. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes combined passing TDs over 0.5. Again, that's pretty much the same bet as the touchdowns prop. It's actually worse because this one gives you credit for a running back score. This one does not. Fourth quarter passing touchdown special. Let's see here. This one, see this I like. A QB to throw a fourth quarter touchdown in the Super Bowl, minus 143. I would bet heavily on that. I like those numbers. I like those odds. I think touchdowns will be scored in the fourth quarter of this game.
Yeah, we'll just know.
I mean, max out. I think I would max bet whatever they allow on a. I'm not able to bet on the DraftKings Sportsbook from here. I can't even tech. What do you think the max bet is for this? $50, or you think you put some real money on it?
Yeah, I'm sure they max it. No, I don't think you could put real money on it. Anything significant. But yeah, just know. I assume most people watching this know, but just in case you don't, in football and basketball as well, the fourth quarter and the second quarter is where you generally are going to get the most points because that's where teams are taking timeouts and they're trying to score. There's no urgency in the first and third quarter necessarily to get that score in before the quarter ends. So just keep that in mind when you start seeing totals for quarters, which you have, you could bet on and things like that. The reason that you're going to see higher numbers in the second and fourth quarter are that reason. Teams do tend to score more at the end of halves. So keep that in mind when you're betting, if you haven't done this before.
I would bet everything I had on this fucking minus 143 bet. I think it's so likely to happen.
Yeah, I'd have to look. I gotta look at what the true numbers is. It does seem like a pretty good at minus 143. Seems like a pretty good bet. You gotta figure one of these teams, whoever's down in this game, is going to be throwing, and if the game's tight, there'll be a lot of throwing.
Somebody's scoring a touchdown in the fourth. I mean, that's just happening.
Fourth quarter. Well, it's a quarterback's got to throw one in the fourth quarter, so it's not a lock. But
yeah, I think it's the increased likelihood because it's this game and these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, it really feels like a great prop to bet at minus 143 odds. Again, this isn't minus 10,000. We're talking about minus 143 odds, which is, the 55, 58%, some probability that's really, really reasonable to expect will happen. And I think it's probably, if I had to handicap a fourth quarter touchdown in this game, I'm probably sitting at 70%, 75%, minus 250.
And then, is that any touchdown?
Yeah, give me any touchdown. I'd be minus 250, minus 300.
Right. And now you got to figure out what percentage of touchdowns are passing. I believe both of these teams are around 70. They're in the low 70s, the percentage of passing touchdowns. So you would take about, let's say, 70% of that number. And then now where are you at?
Again, give me minus 200, minus 220 for that as a sort of fair prop. This feels very, very underjuiced to me for that kind of bet, especially with these two teams where, again, they don't run for touchdowns that often. They just don't. I think it'd be an interesting prop, like how many rushing touchdowns get scored in this game.
Yeah, well, Kansas City's not very good in the red zone, which is crazy with a quarterback like Mahomes, where you figure they could do so many things. They haven't been good in the red zone, and then you figure they're gonna have a tough. They get the ball inside the 5. They're gonna have a tough time scoring on the run. They're gonna have to throw the ball more than likely to score. Another reason I like Kelsey, because I think when they get down there, you may see some throws to Kelsey. One thing that that may throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into it is those sort of runs that they could run with Hill, and you don't know. They're sort of run passes. Some of them might be a pass where they just kind of throw it forward to him, but it's a run.
Yeah.
So that kind of throws it. But that's how they're probably going to attack it if they get down the red zone. Those type of end around type of runs with Hardman or
Hardman as well,
or Hill.
I was going to say they love, especially against a team like Tampa, look for the wide receiver sweep play done multiple times. The play that they run, and they've had a lot of success with it. They'll either bring Hardman or Hill, or even I could see it with Sammy Watkins in this one, around the back. Sometimes they actually hand it off, and it's one way to sort of pull the linebacker out of the center of the field, open things up for the running back, and occasionally they'll fake the handoff and hand it to the wide receiver. Now, the interesting part for fantasy scoring is every once in a while that receiver will pass in front of the quarterback where it's a front flip. Other times he'll run behind him. He'll hand it to him, which becomes no credit for the quarterback. So DFS purposes, I don't love those plays because, sometimes it takes away a touchdown from my quarterback. Sometimes it gets a passing touchdown. So it's really, how they run the play determines the points being scored, but it could be done one of two ways. And, really, really game changer on your DFS lineups a lot of the times, especially when you're waiting for, if you're rooting for that quarterback to throw and he just hands it off instead to one of those wide receivers. I'm just trying to see if there's any other exciting. So any best bets from you on this game? Let's pop them out here. Give me a best bet or two. Something that you've pulled the trigger on. Not all of it. We've got most of the bets going over at sportsbetarmy.com. You get all of John's picks, so you got to get signed up over there if you want the picks from the GOAT himself. I don't understand why you wouldn't. It's just making money. Don't you hate losing money, sports betting people? Just sign up for DFS for Sports Bet Army and DFS Army, but Sports Bet Army, and get the picks from someone who doesn't watch TV. He doesn't do anything. He just pours his life into spreadsheets, picks bets, degenerate gambler that makes money at. It's a beautiful thing. Professional, not a degenerate.
Well,
we're taking
still a
degenerates
degenerate
and turning them into non-degenerates.
Yeah.
When you're profitable, you're no longer a degenerate. That's where you want to be. Get signed up over there. Follow John and Anthony. And
I've been profitable in preseason NFL, and people are like, "You're out of your mind," and I'm like, "Not if I have an edge." So
you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
My favorite is guys. I'll give you a story of John. I'm like, the game starts. I'm like, hey John, let's do a pause. What are you up to? I want to. He's like, bro, I'm putting in second half lineups. I'm like, wait. You're not even watching these. No, I got second half lineups to build. I'm like, what? You're fucking making second half lineups, third quarter. It never stops. It never stops. You don't get to be a top 10 DFS player in the world.
I don't think. I don't think I've missed a day of DFS in. It's got to be 4 years.
You need a break.
I know.
Take a break. I'm giving you permission.
I appreciate that, man.
After the Super Bowl,
dude, my laptop comes with me everywhere I go. So if I'm not going to be around, the laptop's with me, and that's what I had to invest in a good laptop.
Before is these older relatives of his that you're going to be watching the Super Bowl with are also degenerate. Aunts, uncle, they're all betting. The whole family does it.
Well, my great grandmother passed away in January of 2007, and we ran. It was during the playoffs, and we ran a box pool.
Your great grandmother was running like baseball sheets out of the house, like
no. But they like to gamble, so we ran. It was I forget who the Bears were playing. I know it was the Bears in the Super Bowl. Did January of like I said, January of 2007, and we were just running box pools out the wake. So because grandma, and she did not hit. We put her in a few boxes. She did not win it.
What did you call grandma? What was your name for her?
This is my great grandmother. I mean, I just called her grandma, but I had two great grandmas, believe it or not, who lived till almost 100 years old, and I was older. One was Nonni, because that's an Italian, like Nonna.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for. I want the Italian grandma name. Nonni?
So I had a Nonni, and then I had just grandma was the other one. But the Italian one, the one who was like straight from Italy, was my Nonni.
Nonni. There we go. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted the authentic Italian grandma name. All right. So give me a couple of best bets for the Super Bowl. John, top picks. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love them, but I think the way I'm leaning, we talked about already. I sort of like that Kelsey and Hill dynamic there. So I'm gonna be long a lot of Kelsey bets here. I think Kelsey receptions. I think Kelsey yardage. I think they're almost sucking you into trying to take the under on Kelsey. 94 and a half here on DraftKings is juiced to the over side. And I think on the surface, I think if you don't dig deep, I think that looks like a bet that a bet people want to maybe be like, well, he's got to get almost 100 yards. I think that's where they're going to go. So I think that's how you have to play it. I think you look at the averages, you run all the numbers, and then you try to figure out what the game script's going to be. I think they're going to utilize Kelsey a lot more in this game. Like we talked about, I think the focus maybe for Tampa is going to be to kind of shut Hill down, let Kelsey beat us, and let them be a little bit more methodical in the offense. So I like receptions with Kelsey. I like yardage with Kelsey. Again, fading Hill in receptions, I think is a good bet. Fading Hill in yardage, I think on the Tampa side. One bet that I really like is go look for longest touchdown of the game. I believe on my bookie it was like 45 and a half. They'll have it here somewhere on DraftKings as well. I do like I like the over longest touchdown play being in that 40, that 40 to 40. It's going to vary by book, but take a look at that longest touchdown play going over. I like that number as well, just because I think, like I said, I think the Kansas City has been known to give up long plays this season. And
here we go. Longest reception. Oh, well,
that's you'll find it in there. Again, there's so many of these, but it would probably be under a game.
Players long. There, the props. By the way, if we wanted to go through every single prop available for this game,
you can't do it.
Sit here for 5 hours doing this.
Yeah, you can't do it. But again, that's why I said have a game script in your head, and then you could look at a prop like this and say, okay, well, if I do think Tampa's going to go, I think I do like Tampa to get a long play. Who do I like? Do I like who's their big play guys? Evans, obviously, Godwin. I like those guys for maybe over yardage. There's going to be some big plays in this game. So their biggest play over 24.5. I'd have to bring this up a little bigger so I can see your numbers here. So over to 24. What's the Evans number here? He's over 24.5.
Interesting. It's the exact same 24.5.
I like the overs on both of those. So I like that. I don't know what the Brown. Where's Antonio Brown number?
People are smashing the over on this. This again comes back to where I like to see bets where you can hit both sides of it, so you can actually know what the actual bettors are doing. In this case, the bettors are smashing the over on Tyreek Hill, 27.5-yard reception. Understandable. Tyreek Hill's a big play guy. And you give me a choice between Hill and Godwin for a 25-ish yard reception. I'm going to take Hill every time. So I get that. What were you just asking? Oh, no,
I was looking at Antonio Brown as well as 18.5. I just wanted to see what the Tampa, because I'm expecting, I don't like Antonio Brown necessarily for the big play, but I do like Godwin or, Godwin's had some issues maybe catching the ball. Evans as well. They've had some issues, but I do think we're going to see the attempts are going to be there. Do they connect?
24.5.
We shall see. 24.5 is a big number.
A very big play for either of these guys. So I think Evans. Yeah, I mean it's a big play. It's a tough line. You've got they're smashing the under on Kelsey at 25.5. So
let me say that I know we're going to wrap it up here shortly.
Oh, the over,
one key thing though when you're betting these, right? If you're going to play, especially if you're playing a lot of them, understand a lot of these are heavily correlated. So if I've got the over on if I have over on Kelsey receptions and I have over on Kelsey yardage and I have under on Hill, these are going to be correlated type of plays, which makes you're all going to want to lower your bet sizing as well, because now I've got so much risk. You're like, well, I'm only betting half of what I normally bet on this play, but I've got 7 bets that are correlated. I've got a Kelsey touchdown, a Kelsey over yardage. I've got Kelsey over the receptions. Well, now you're risking far more than what your normal bet size would be on Travis Kelsey having a big game. So just understand that as well when you're putting these in. It's key because you really have one opinion and you made 7 bets on that one opinion. So they're highly good. Understand what's correlated, understand what isn't, and bet size appropriately.
Yeah, I'm gonna reiterate that, guys. Bet responsibly. This is the Super Bowl. We want to have fun. You want to enjoy this game. You want to have a rooting interest, which is a big reason why we bet on these games. To begin with, you want to have something that you're pulling for. Keep it within reason. These are all long shots. Again, we love the Super Bowl, but bet a bunch of props. I love the score a touchdown prop. It's one of my favorite, the touchdown prop, because you can mix in to score and to score first with a lot of these players and get some really interesting arbitrage against it, where you can get massive numbers. So you could bet, a tenth of a unit on, Chris Godwin or Fournette scoring the first touchdown. Give me plus 10,000 on Fournette. Fine. But you can also then get the really, really likely players to score in there and just kind of put a little bit more on that and sort of protect yourself. So if you had a Kelsey to score, but also put in like a Mecole Hardman and some of these like 10th unit bets on some of these long shots to score first. But as long as you put enough on the other player to score to kind of pay for those other little bets, you can kind of create a little situation where you've got a lot of scenarios covered. And if certain players score at all, you're like, if a Kelsey scores at all, which is highly likely to happen, you can kind of break even, but then use that money to create a whole bunch of interesting to score first with some of these secondary guys that give you really, really good odds. So little things like that are fun, but definitely bet within reason. We're going to wrap that up here, guys. Remember to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this style of content. John is with us year round. We have the Beat the Bookie podcast, which you want to check out, learn about sports betting, learn about EV and what to look for as a gambler, the basics of sports betting, everything. Look up Beat the Bookie on the DFS Army YouTube channel. Of course, if you want to get John's bets, I will reiterate this again. You go to sportsbetarmy.com, you sign up as a VIP, or you click on the link below to the sportsbetarmy.com Discord and you find out all about the promotion where you get 2 free months of Sportsbet Army. You get a bunch of contests for the Super Bowl, pick'ems, all these opportunities. There's only 25 people. They're limiting it to 25 people. So if you're one of the 25 that do the promotion, you have a really, really good shot at winning a whole bunch of money.
It might not even be open to anyone anymore. We only had a couple of spots open, so I would hurry up and kind of, don't mess around with it.
Last I saw, it was only 8 spots left out of the 25. Again, there's a $250 pool. There's all kinds of other little pools they're running. 3 or 4 different contests, all based around this 25-person group of people for this promotion that they're pushing over at Sportsbet Army. So you got to check that out. Click on the Discord link, or for DFS Army subscribers, you could just DM John at Statsational in Slack, or at Anthony P in Slack, and they'll tell you all about it. Or go to the Sportsbook channel in DFS Army Slack if you're in there, and you could read all about this promotion. It's really, really great. It's worth doing. Again, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to smash the Super Bowl for DFS purposes, of course, sign up at DFS Army as a VIP. I can't remember the last time one of our subs, one of our Domination Station users, hasn't taken down an NFL showdown. We smashed them all. It's why you see our avatars in first place every time. Go sign up over there. Use promo code Statsational. I'm throwing it over to you. Use your code. You get 10% off for monthly VIP. We have a lot going on. NASCAR starting in a couple weeks. DFS doesn't end, man. I love it. So for everybody, enjoy the big game. This projects to be one of the funnest Super Bowls you're ever going to see. Old versus new. I can't be more excited for Sunday. Let's smash. For John, Statsational, Alessia, and myself, Kevin, Fantasy Football Geek Allen. Good luck this weekend, everyone. Cash those bets.